The first risk, the underground chamber, was always dark, always cold. The humans had built it when they first arrived on the colony world, deep below the metal floors of their base. It was not just a prison, it was a warning. Behind the steel bars, chained and silent, was the Alien Giantess. She was unlike anything else on the planet. Her skin carried a faint glow, a soft, golden light that shimmered even when the chamber lamps were turned off. Her eyes were large, brighter than torches, and when she blinked it was like lightning flashing in a storm. Everyone in the colony feared her. They whispered that she was not an animal, not even a soldier of war, but something older, something dangerous. They told stories about her to the workers. They said, "Never feed her, never speak to her. If you give her even a crumb, she will kill you." The guards swore that one man had tried it years ago. He slipped food through the bars. By morning he was gone. No body, no bones, just gone. After that, the giantess was left to rot, chained and starving. Ryan had heard the stories. He had heard them since he was a boy working in the lower tunnels. But stories are different from the truth. He saw her every day when he came to fix pipes, wires, and broken machines. He was just a mechanic, not a soldier. To him, the giantess was not a beast. She was something else. He noticed things the guards did not. He noticed the way her chest rose slower with every passing week, the way her ribs showed through her glowing skin. He noticed her hands tremble when she tried to pull at the chains. She was starving, slowly dying, yet her eyes always followed him. When Ryan bent down to fix a leaking pipe, he felt her gaze burning into his back. When he looked up, she was always staring, not with anger, not even with hunger. Something else lived in her eyes. A question. Ryan told himself not to care. He told himself to keep his head down, finish his work, and leave before the guards shouted. But that night, as he lay in his bunk, he could not sleep. The image of her shaking hands, her sunken face, would not leave his mind. "She is dangerous," he whispered to himself. "She is not human. She is not my problem." But another voice, small and stubborn, asked, "Then why does she look at you that way?" The next day, when Ryan carried his tools to the lower levels, he made a decision he could not explain. He had tucked a piece of bread inside his jacket pocket. It was all he had left from his meal. He told himself he would not use it. He told himself it was foolish. Yet he carried it all the same. The chamber was silent when he entered. The guards were gone for their meal shift. Only the sound of dripping water filled the air. And her. She was there kneeling behind the bars, her long hair tangled, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Ryan fixed the pipe quickly. His hands trembled, not from the work, but from the weight of the bread in his pocket. He could feel it like a stone pressing against his chest. When he turned to leave, he stopped. The giantess was still watching him. Her lips parted, but no sound came. For a moment, Ryan thought he saw pain in her face. His heart beat faster. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the bread. His hand shook as he held it. "No," he whispered to himself. "This is stupid. This is suicide." But his feet carried him closer to the bars. The air felt heavy. Every step sounded like thunder in his ears. He crouched near the iron gate, his eyes never leaving hers. Slowly, carefully, he pushed the bread through the gap. For a long, endless moment, nothing happened. The giantess did not move. She only stared. Then, with a slowness that made his breath catch, she reached forward. Her hand was massive, her fingers long and sharp at the tips. She could crush him with a flick of her wrist, but she did not. She took the bread, her eyes never leaving his. And then for the first time she spoke. Her voice was low, rough, like thunder rolling across the sky, yet soft at the same time, as if it carried a secret only for him. "Why?" she asked. Ryan froze. The guards had said she did not speak. The legends said she only killed, but here she was, holding the bread like it was treasure and asking him a question no human had ever heard. He opened his mouth, but no words came. His throat felt dry, his heart beating like a drum. The giantess took a small bite. She chewed, slowly, gently. Then her lips curved into something almost like a smile, though her teeth were sharp as knives. Her eyes stayed on him, glowing brighter now, as if a fire had been lit inside. And Ryan understood with a deep shiver that he had crossed a line no one ever dared. He had fed the monster. But what stared back at him was not a monster at all. It was something far more dangerous. The whispered bond the next day Ryan tried to forget. He worked in the tunnels, he checked his machines, he tightened his bolts, but his mind was not his own. It kept returning to the dark chamber, to the moment he had slipped the bread through the bars. He could still hear her voice echoing inside his head, that single word that had shaken his soul. Why? No one else had heard it. No one else even believed she could speak. The guards swore she was a beast, a weapon, a danger. But Ryan knew the truth now. She was something else. And that truth was far more frightening than the lie. That night, when the workers gathered in the mess hall, Ryan sat alone. He did not eat. His hand trembled when he lifted the spoon. He could still see her golden eyes, glowing in the dark like two burning suns. He had crossed a line, and deep inside, he knew he would cross it again. By morning, he had already decided. He carried food with him again, more than before. Not just bread, but meat and water wrapped tightly in cloth. His heart told him this was madness. His brain screamed at him to stop. But his feet carried him forward anyway, down into the cold tunnels, down toward the forbidden cage. The chamber was quiet. Too quiet. She was waiting. When he entered, she was sitting against the bars, her body weak, but her eyes alive, watching him. As he stepped closer, her voice came again, this time softer but clearer. You came back. Ryan froze. His heart hammered in his chest. Her voice was deep, rumbling like distant thunder, but it carried something else, something that almost sounded human. I shouldn't be here, he whispered. Her lips curved in a slow, strange smile. But you are. He wanted to turn and run. He wanted to climb the ladders and never return. Yet his hands betrayed him. He unwrapped the food and pushed it through the bars. The giantess leaned forward, her chains rattling. She took the food gently, almost carefully, as if afraid it would vanish. She ate slowly, her eyes never leaving his. And then she spoke again. What is your name? Ryan's throat went dry. No one had asked him that in weeks, not like this. He swallowed. Ryan. The giantess repeated it softly, rolling the sound on her tongue like a secret. Ryan. Her voice made the chamber walls tremble. It was a whisper and a roar at the same time. He should not have answered. Every instinct told him to keep quiet, to run. But hearing his name from her lips did something he could not explain. It felt like chains of his own, invisible, wrapping around him tighter with every word she spoke. Why? Ryan? She asked. Why do you feed me? Ryan shook his head. Because you look like you're dying. Because they won't help you. Because someone should. Her golden eyes glowed brighter as if lit by fire from inside. She leaned closer, pressing her face against the bars. He could see the strange patterns on her skin, glowing symbols that pulsed like veins of light. No one has ever cared, she whispered. Not until you. Ryan felt his chest tighten. This was not what he had expected. He had thought she would take the food and stay silent. He had thought she was just hungry. But this was something else. She was speaking to him. She was bonding with him. And the more she spoke, the more he felt drawn in. Days passed. And every day, Ryan returned. He always brought food, always stayed longer than before. At first he told himself it was only kindness. Then he told himself it was curiosity. But soon he stopped pretending. He wanted to hear her voice. He wanted to see her eyes. Each time she asked him questions. What is the sky like now? she asked one night. Blue, Ryan whispered, and sometimes red at dusk. What are the stars like? They shine like your eyes. The giantess tilted her head, her sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. Then I want to see them. Again. Her words struck him like a knife. Again? Had she seen the stars before? Had she lived free before the humans built her cage? Ryan dared not ask, but the thought burned in his mind. With every conversation, her strength returned. Her voice grew louder, her glow brighter. Her hands, once trembling, now pressed against the bars with power. The chains rattled harder each night. And yet when she looked at Ryan, her eyes softened. She did not threaten. She did not roar. She only whispered his name over and over, like a vow. But Ryan was not the only one who noticed. The guards began to watch him. They saw the scraps missing from the kitchen, the way he lingered in the tunnels. One night a guard leaned close to him and hissed, "Stay away from the cage, boy. That thing will kill you the second she's strong enough. And if she doesn't, we will." Ryan said nothing, but inside his fear grew, not of the giantess, but of what would happen when the others found out, because deep down, he already knew the truth. He was no longer feeding her because she needed it. He was feeding her because he needed her. And the giantess, chained and waiting in the dark, knew it too. When Ryan left that night, her whisper followed him through the tunnels, echoing in his ears like a haunting promise. "You are mine now, Ryan." The whispered bond. Deepen's Ryan told himself it had to end. He told himself he could not keep going back. He tried to focus on his work, on the machines, on the broken tunnels that always leaked and groaned. But his thoughts betrayed him. They circled back to her, the giantess, the prisoner, the voice that had whispered his name in the dark. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her golden gaze staring through him. Every time he ate, he remembered her hunger. Every time he slept, he dreamed of her voice saying words no human should ever hear. "You are mine now, Ryan." And so, no matter how hard he fought himself, he found his steps carrying him down again into the forbidden chamber. This time, she was not waiting in silence. She was already at the bars when he entered, her long fingers curling around the steel. The glow beneath her skin was stronger now, running like rivers of fire beneath the surface. Her chains rattled when she shifted, as though they were weaker than before. When Ryan saw her strength returning, fear stabbed through his chest. He remembered the guard's warnings. If she became strong enough, she would not need food. She would not need kindness. She would only need freedom. And yet, when she spoke, the fear melted. "You came back," she said. Her voice was steady now, more powerful. Each word vibrated in the air, a sound both terrible and beautiful. Ryan swallowed. "I shouldn't have." The giantess tilted her head, her tangled hair falling across her face. "But you did. Again." Her words weren't angry. They weren't mocking, they were curious, almost playful. And that made it worse. Ryan stepped closer, against every instinct, and slid another meal through the bars. The giantess took it without hesitation. Her hands brushed against his for the first time, and Ryan felt heat burn into his skin. Not the heat of fire, the heat of something alive. Something powerful. He pulled his hand back quickly, but the mark stayed. The giantess chewed slowly, her golden eyes never leaving his face. When she finished, she leaned closer, so close that Ryan could see the lines of light pulsing across her skin. They weren't random. They were symbols, shapes, writings. He stared at them, realizing they shifted and changed as she breathed. Like living tattoos carved by the stars themselves. "You wonder what I am," she whispered. Ryan froze. He had not spoken the thought aloud. "I am not your enemy," she continued. "I was not always a prisoner." Her voice grew darker, heavier. "Once I was worshipped." Ryan's blood ran cold. He wanted to ask more, but his mouth would not open. She leaned back against the wall, her chains clinking softly, and her voice dropped into something almost mournful. Your kind feared me, not because I was cruel, but because they knew I could not be controlled. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment Ryan thought he saw something fierce, an anger so sharp it could cut stone. But it passed. She looked back at him, and the fire softened. But you, she whispered, you do not treat me like a monster. Ryan shook his head. Because you're not. Her lips curved in the faintest smile, revealing teeth that could tear a man apart. Yet in that moment she looked almost human. Almost gentle. You belong to me now, Ryan, she said again, her voice low, binding, final, and I belong to you. Ryan's breath caught. He felt the weight of her words press into his chest, heavy like chains. Before he could answer, a sudden sound shattered the silence. Boots on metal. Voices. Guards. Ryan spun around in panic. Hide, the giantess whispered, her voice sharp and commanding. Ryan stumbled into the shadows just as two guards entered. Their lamps lit the chamber, their rifles in hand. She's getting stronger, one muttered, eyeing the giantess suspiciously. Look at her glow. She shouldn't be able to sit up like that. The other guard sneered. Someone's been feeding her. Ryan's stomach twisted. The giantess said nothing. She only lowered her head, pretending to be weak again. The guards kicked at the bars, cursed, and finally left, their voices fading down the tunnels. Ryan stepped back into the light, his chest heaving. They'll find out, they'll know. The giantess raised her head and her eyes locked onto his. Then let them, she whispered. Because I will not let them take you from me. Ryan felt the chamber tilt, as if the ground itself had shifted. Her words sank deep, too deep. She was no longer just a prisoner he pitied, no longer just a giantess he fed. She was something far more dangerous, and now he was hers. The warning signs. The colony was restless. People whispered in the halls, in the mess room, even in their bunks at night. They said the giantess was stirring again. Her glow was brighter, her chains rattled louder, her silence broken by strange echoes. The guards did not laugh at the stories this time. They carried heavier rifles, patrolled more often, and eyed each worker with suspicion. And among those workers, Ryan felt their eyes linger on him the longest. He tried to stay invisible. He fixed his machines, he cleaned the leaks, he kept his head down. But inside his heart was at war, because every night the same voice called to him. Ryan, it was not spoken with sound. It was inside his mind like a whisper he could not shut out. He heard it even when he covered his ears. He heard it in his dreams. The giantess was no longer just behind the bars. She was inside him. One evening, after another long shift, Ryan finally snapped at her. He stood before the cage, trembling with both fear and anger. Stop it, he hissed. Stop calling me. Do you want to get me killed? The giantess tilted her head. Her glowing eyes studied. Him unblinking. Then slowly, her lips curved in a smile. You cannot resist me, Ryan, she whispered, her voice like thunder rolling over distant mountains. You feel it too. The bond. Ryan shook his head. No. You're using me. You're making me weak. She leaned forward, pressing her hands against the bars. The steel groaned under her strength. The symbols glowing across her skin burned brighter as though alive. Not weak, she said softly. Changed. Ryan staggered back. His hands shook. The air itself seemed to thrum when she spoke. He felt it in his bones, in his blood, and he hated himself for knowing she was right. The next morning, the danger became real. A guard grabbed Ryan by the collar when he entered the tunnels. The man's face was hard, his eyes sharp. You've been spending too much time near her cage, the guard growled. Think we don't notice? Think we don't count the missing food? Ryan's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. The guard shoved him against the wall. Don't play dumb, boy. That monster isn't some pet, she's a weapon, she's death. And if she grows strong again, you'll be the first she rips apart. You keep this up and you're as good as dead, maybe worse. Ryan managed to slip free, but the guard's warning clung to him like a shadow. The colony was watching him now. The walls were closing in. That night, when he returned to the chamber, the giantess was waiting as always. Her chains clinked softly, but they no longer seemed to hold her the way they once had. "They know," Ryan whispered. "The guards. They suspect me." The giantess only smiled, slow and sharp. "Let them." Ryan's voice cracked. "You don't understand. If they catch me, if they catch us." Her voice thundered in his skull, silencing him. "They cannot stop what is coming." Ryan's heart raced. He stepped closer, almost against his will. Her eyes locked onto his, glowing, so bright now they lit the chamber walls. "You feel it, don't you?" she asked. "The bond, stronger each day. You give me food, I give you purpose." He wanted to scream that it wasn't true, that he was just trying to help, that he was human and she was a prisoner. And this was madness. But he couldn't, because every time she whispered his name, he did feel it, something deeper than fear, something heavier than reason. And that terrified him more than the guards ever could. The days passed and her strength grew. Her voice grew louder, her whispers sharper. She began to tell him things she should not know. She spoke of his childhood, his hidden fears, the thoughts he had never spoken aloud. Ryan would stumble back in horror. "How do you know that?" Her smile was cold and beautiful. "Because you are mine. And what is yours is mine, also." At night, when Ryan lay in his bunk, he felt the mark on his hand burn where her fingers had touched him. It pulsed like a heartbeat, glowing faintly under his skin. He tried to cover it, he tried to ignore it, but it would not fade. It was a sign, a claim. By now, the other workers avoided him. They whispered when he passed. They said he looked pale, haunted like a man carrying a ghost on his back, and maybe he was. One evening, Ryan returned to the chamber and found her standing. Standing tall, her chains stretched to their limit, her head nearly brushing the ceiling. For the first time, Ryan saw her full height, her full power. His breath caught in his throat. She was magnificent, terrifying, beautiful. And she was smiling at him. "You are not afraid," she said. "Not anymore." Ryan's voice trembled. "I should be." Her golden eyes blazed. "Then why are you still here?" The question cut through him like a blade. He had no answer, no excuse, only the terrible truth beating in his chest. He stayed because he wanted to. He stayed because she wanted him to. And as the chains groaned louder, as the guard's suspicions sharpened, as the mark on his hand burned hotter, Ryan realized the warning signs were not for him. They were for everyone else. Because soon the cage would not hold her anymore, and when she rose, she would not rise alone. The breakout. The night was not like the others. The tunnels shook with the sound of alarms. Red lights flashed across the colony walls, sirens wailed, and boots thundered down the metal floors. Soldiers shouted orders, rifles clattered, and doors slammed shut. Ryan knew before anyone said a word. It was her, the giantess. He ran through the narrow halls, his breath ragged. He didn't think. He didn't plan. His body carried him down into the forbidden chamber. He knew he shouldn't. He should hide, stay safe, pretend he had nothing to do with it. But some invisible pull dragged him closer like a rope tied around his soul. When he reached the chamber, the sight froze his blood. The bars were bent, the steel door hung broken, ripped from its bolts. Chains lay shattered on the ground like paper torn apart. And in the center of the room she stood, the alien giantess, taller than any man, her body glowing with fierce golden light. The strange symbols across her skin burned like fire, alive and shifting. Her eyes blazed like suns, and for the first time Ryan felt the weight of what she truly was. Not a prisoner, not a monster, something far greater. The guards had already arrived. They surrounded her with rifles raised, shouting, firing. Bullets ricocheted off her skin, sparks dancing across her glowing body. She didn't flinch. She didn't stumble. She only moved forward, slow and unstoppable. One soldier screamed as she swept him aside with a single hand, sending him crashing into the wall. Another fired point blank into her chest, but the bullets melted as they touched her skin. The others panicked. Some ran. Some reloaded. None of them mattered, because her eyes weren't on them. They were on Ryan. He felt her gaze burn into him, locking him in place. His legs trembled, his breath caught, but he couldn't move, not forward, not back. He was frozen, caught between terror and awe. And then she spoke. "Ryan." Her voice cut through the chaos, louder than the alarms, sharper than the gunfire. She stepped through the storm of bullets, through the screams, through the smoke, and reached for him. Ryan's instincts screamed at him to run. Every story he had ever heard about her, every warning, every threat, told him this was the end. But when her massive hand wrapped around him, he did not feel death. He felt safety. She lifted him gently, cradling him against her palm as if he were glass. Bullets struck her back, sparks exploding, but she shielded him with her body, never letting a single round touch him. The soldiers shouted in disbelief. "She's protecting him. Why him?" Ryan clung to her finger, his heart slamming against his ribs. His mind screamed, "This isn't possible." But deep inside, another voice whispered, "You knew. You always knew." The giantess turned toward the exit. Her glow filled the tunnels, drowning out the red alarms. With every step she took, the ground shook and the soldiers fell back in fear. Some still fired, others shouted, but none dared to block her path. She walked through the colony as if nothing could touch her, her golden eyes locked only on the man in her hand. Ryan wanted to speak. He wanted to ask her why. Why protect him? Why not kill him like the legends said she would? But no words came. His throat was dry, his voice stolen by the storm around him. It was she who answered the question he could not ask. "I will not let them take you," she whispered, her words rumbling through the night. "You fed me, you freed me, now you are mine." The words wrapped around Ryan like chains. But these chains did not feel like prison. They felt like fate. The soldiers made one last stand at the surface gate. They lined up, rifles aimed, heavy weapons ready. The commander shouted, "Fire everything!" Flames erupted. Rockets screamed through the air. The gate shook as explosions lit up the night. For a heartbeat, Ryan thought even she could not survive. But then the smoke cleared, and she was still standing. Her body glowed brighter than ever, her symbols blazing, her eyes burning like two stars tearing through the darkness. Around her lay the broken weapons, the shattered steel, and the soldiers scattered like leaves in a storm. She stepped over them, carrying Ryan into the open night. For the first time in years, above them stretched the sky, black and endless, filled with stars. The giantess tilted her head back, staring at them as if drinking in their light. For a moment, Ryan saw something in her face. Not rage, not hunger, but longing. A deep sadness, hidden behind her fire. Then she looked back down at him and her lips curved into a sharp, terrible smile. "They said I would kill anyone who fed me," she whispered, but they were wrong. Her voice dropped, softer now, yet heavy as stone. "I will never let you go, Ryan." And as the colony burned behind them, Ryan finally understood. The true danger had never been that she might kill him. The true danger was that she wouldn't. The choice. The night sky spread above them, endless and cold, full of stars. For years, Ryan had seen it only through steel windows, a prisoner of the colony just as much as the giantess had been. Now, in her hand, he felt the wind of freedom against his face. It should have been beautiful. It should have been a dream. But the alarms still screamed behind them. The colony burned. And every gun, every soldier, every desperate pair of human eyes was fixed on him because she was carrying him. The giantess walked with long strides, her glowing body lighting the barren cliffs around the colony. She held Ryan close, shielding him with her hand. Her golden eyes never wavered from the horizon, Behind them, soldiers shouted his name. "Ryan, come back. You don't understand what she is. She'll kill you the second you're no use to her." Their voices cracked with both fury and fear. Ryan's chest twisted. These were his people, humans, fragile and desperate, trying to survive on a hostile planet, and yet in their voices, he heard no rescue, only hatred, only blame. To them, he was already lost. He looked up at her face. She was staring ahead, her jaw set, her glow brighter with every step. Bullets no longer touched her, but Ryan knew the soldiers would not stop. They would hunt her. Hunt him. His throat tightened. "Stop," he whispered. "Please, just stop." She slowed, looking down at him. Her enormous eyes softened when they met his. "Do you fear me, Ryan?" His lips trembled. He should have said yes. Every story, every warning, every scream from the colony told him to fear her. But when he looked at her hand curled gently around him, shielding him like the most precious thing in the world, the word caught in his throat. "No," he whispered. "Not you." Her lips curved in a strange smile. "Then choose." The word struck him like a blade. "Choose?" His voice cracked. She nodded, her chains clinking faintly where they still hung from her wrists. "Your people call to you. They want you back. They want you safe. But they will never forgive you. Never trust you. You fed me. You freed me. To them, you are a traitor." Ryan's heart pounded. He knew she was right. Even if he ran back to the colony now, they would lock him away. Or worse. He had crossed the line the moment he gave her bread. "And if I stay with you?" he asked, his voice barely more than a breath. Her golden eyes burned brighter. "Then you are mine. You will never be alone again, but you will never be theirs." Ryan's chest felt crushed. Behind him, the soldiers shouted louder. "Ryan, don't listen to her. She's lying. Run. To us, now." Tears stung his eyes. He wanted to scream. He wanted someone else to decide for him. But no one could. Not the soldiers. Not the giantess. Not even fate. It was his choice. The giantess knelt, lowering him to the ground for the first time. Her massive hand hovered near him, palm open, waiting. She loomed over him like a mountain of fire and shadow, her glowing skin lighting the dirt at his feet. "Step forward," she whispered. "Take my hand and you are mine. Step back, and you return to them. But if you step back, Ryan, know this. They will not save you. They will break you." Ryan stood between two worlds. Behind him, humans shouting, rifles raised, faces twisted with fear. Before him, the alien giantess, chains broken, eyes burning, her hand open in silence. His heart pounded so loud he thought it would burst. Sweat ran down his face. His legs trembled, and then he moved. Not backward. Forward. His hand shook as he pressed it against her palm. Her skin burned hot, glowing with power. The mark on his hand flared, golden light searing his flesh, binding him to her. The soldiers screamed in fury. Some fired, others fell to their knees. But it was too late. The giantess rose, her massive hand closing around Ryan protectively. Her voice thundered across the cliffs, louder than the sirens, louder than the guns. "He has chosen, he is mine." The ground trembled beneath her feet as she carried him away from the colony, into the wilderness beyond. Ryan looked back only once. The colony's lights shrank behind him, swallowed by darkness and smoke. He felt no relief, no safety, only a heavy, burning truth in his chest. He had chosen her, and whatever came next, there would be no going back. The ending twist. The wilderness stretched before them, endless and black beneath the stars. The colony was gone, swallowed by distance and smoke. Ryan sat in the giantess's hand, his body small against her enormous palm, his heart still beating, like a trapped bird. She walked across the barren cliffs, her golden light cutting through the dark. Every step was steady, certain, as if she already knew the path. The broken chains on her wrists clinked softly, reminders of the prison she had shattered. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Only the sound of the wind filled the silence. Ryan stared at the stars above, feeling both free and lost. Finally, he whispered, "Why me?" The giantess lowered her gaze to him. Her glowing eyes softened, though the fire within them never faded. "Because you saw me," she said. "Not as a beast, not as a weapon. You fed me, not from fear, but from kindness." Ryan shook his head. "But I didn't free you. I didn't break your chains." Her lips curved into a slow, sharp smile. "You did. The moment you gave me food, you broke the only chains that mattered. You gave me will again. And now, I will never let you go." Her words pressed against him like weight. He should have felt trapped, but instead he felt something stranger. Belonging. Still the questions clawed at him. What are you? Why were you caged? For the first time, her smile faded. Her eyes turned upward, staring at the stars. "I was worshipped once," she whispered. "Not by your kind, by others. Long before your colony came here, long before your world even knew this sky, I walked among the stars. They feared me, because they could not control me. So they bound me, buried me, and called me dangerous." Ryan's breath caught. He thought of the guards, the warnings, the endless fear that had kept her in chains. And suddenly he realized, maybe the humans had not built the cage. Maybe they had only found it. His voice cracked. "If they couldn't control you, then can I?" The giantess lowered her gaze again. Slowly, carefully, she brought him closer to her face. Her glowing skin lit his features, her breath hot as it washed over him. "No," she said. "You cannot control me." Ryan's chest tightened. For a moment, fear clawed at him again. But then she added softly, "And I will not control you. You chose me, Ryan. That is enough." Her words sank into him like fire. He felt both bound and free, chained and unchained, and yet deep inside, he sensed the truth. She had not saved him out of love, not out of mercy, but out of something deeper, something older, possession. She stopped walking at the edge of a cliff, the wind howling around them. Below stretched a valley of stone and shadow. She looked out at it as if claiming it, her golden glow spilling across the land. Ryan followed her gaze. For the first time, he saw other lights moving in the distance, glowing shapes, tall figures. Not human. His stomach turned cold. What are those?" The giantess smiled, sharp and terrible. "My kin," she whispered. "Others like me, long imprisoned, long waiting. Now they will rise." Ryan's breath caught. The bond in his hand burned hotter, the mark glowing as if alive. He realized the truth. She had not escaped by accident. She had been waiting for someone foolish or brave, enough to break the silence. Waiting for him. She lifted him higher, her eyes blazing brighter than the stars. "They said I would kill anyone who fed me," she whispered. "But I will not kill you, Ryan." Her smile widened, showing teeth like blades. "I will keep you." The ground shook beneath them. The lights in the valley grew stronger, rising one by one. Ryan stared, his heart frozen between terror and how the humans in the colony had been wrong. The cage had not held back a monster. It had held back a queen. And now she was free. Ryan pressed his hand against her skin, the glowing mark burning hotter, binding his fate to hers. He knew there was no return, no escape, no undoing. She had chosen him as much as he had chosen her. And as the night filled with the rising glow of giants, Ryan whispered the truth to himself, a truth that both terrified and thrilled him. "She won't ever let me go.